President Obama back on the road today. Tonight, he will travel to Los Angeles to appear with Jay Leno on The Tonight Show. The president's been on the show 5 times, most recently October. But before heading to Hollywood, the president will deliver a major speech on home ownership in Phoenix, Arizona. That speech will begin less than 2 hours from now. Greeting the president at the airport will be Arizona Governor Jan Brewer, who infamously wagged her finger in front of the president the last time the two met on the tarmac back in February of last year. Now, in his speech, the president is expected to spotlight the progress the U.S. housing market has made since he took office and to lay out his second-term policy agenda to increase home ownership. The president will deliver the remarks just miles from the high school where 4 years ago he unveiled a mortgage modification program to help struggling homeowners avoid foreclosure. The speech comes at a time when home ownership is at a 17.5-year low as many Americans continue to rent, one of the continuing effects, of course, of the recession. Joining me now, Chicago Sun-Times Washington Bureau Chief Lynn and Shari Olefson. She's a real estate attorney and the author of the book Foreclosure Nation. Thank you both for joining us. Lynn,
good afternoon.
Thank you. Let's first talk about the politics. As I mentioned, a little bit of the heat today. Jan Brewer will greet the president on the tarmac, not likely to repeat her finger wag, but you never know with Jan Brewer. This is a live picture of Air Force One arriving now. As we look on, we'll keep this picture up for us. So what do you think will happen here, Lynn?
Well, I think you can never best that picture, so it's iconic by now, Tamron. So I would be surprised if she does the same thing. No matter your party, you maybe only do that once, but to do it a second time, it just would look phony, wouldn't it? So I don't expect that. If she has something to say to Obama, I think she knows by now, after wagging your finger once, if there's something to say it privately.
Well, and we know at that time that was in the heat of the campaign, the president went on to victory. And to win a second term. We also know that he's going back into Arizona, and he plans to point out that 2 years ago, home prices were down 60%, and the banks were foreclosing some 70,000 homes a year. And now home prices are up 20% from a year ago. That's still down, but seeing some progress in the housing market. And we know that Arizona, like so many parts of the Southwest, were hit very hard after 2008.
Well, yes, and actually what he's going to do in his speech today is make a bipartisan appeal for something that actually may have a chance because it is not ideologically based. It depends how it's structured, and that is to make it easier for homeowners to refinance. One of the legacies of the meltdown is that banks did a terrible job in making mortgages, and now they have become too cautious. Even qualified people have trouble getting loans. You have to be super duper qualified, and that's what Obama is going to address in new mortgages and making it easier to refis. That may have a chance. There's some bills in Congress that may be able to move on that.
And Shari, to Lynn's point, I can't tell you how many people I've met who want to get a new home and talk about the obstacles being presented by the banks. The president, again, will tout some of the successes in the market, but Republicans are still saying that the housing market is recovering because, in their words, it bottomed out. What is the real picture, not the partisan back and forth of what's happening with our housing market?
Well, and it's interesting. That's an interesting question, Tamron, and it's very interesting, again, that he's choosing Phoenix because the HAMP modification, which, of course, was announced there and was under the Making Home Affordable plan, also has a sister, which is the HARP refinance. And that's what the administration is also looking to tweak a little bit. For example, Freddie Mac last month came out with what they're calling a streamlined modification, but it's really only for people who are severely, severely in default, so more than 3 months in default and really about to lose the home. It's a last resort. And I think that's what really the president is focusing on with this refinance plan as well. We've still got almost 10 million people who are still underwater. Right. And those are the folks really having a hard time. And of course, they've tweaked HARP a couple times. It came out originally and it was only for folks who were 5% underwater. Well, that didn't work. Now we're looking at people who are seriously underwater. And look, in Phoenix, we still are 20% below, or 40% below where the prices were at the peak. So there's a lot of folks underwater there.
Yeah. So when you look at the prices that were 40% below what they were at the peak in 2006. Some would say that that was because these numbers were overinflated, that they were never realistic when you objectively look at the housing market. And again, we're watching Air Force One, the president, to be greeted by Arizona Governor Jan Brewer. But the answer to that question is what, Shari?
Of course. I mean, you look at real estate indicators, and the problem was that housing was just not was way exceeding what wages were. The affordability indexes just weren't working. We're back to a more normal level still, but not recovered to where we would have been had there been no housing bubble at all. Of course, that's where the president is coming from with this housing plan and the emphasis on the middle America and middle income homeowners. And that housing plan has something for everything. Everyone, though. It's got something for renters and something for new buyers and refinancing, and even a plug for his new nominee for the Federal Housing Finance Authority.
And Lynn, back to the politics. This is although a continuation of the president saying he is focused on the middle class, a series of speeches. Again, we see the president there, a series of speeches challenging the Republican Party to come up with its own ideas as we watch the president exit Air Force One.
Absolutely, and I see he's with HUD Secretary Sean Donovan behind him. Yes, part of the politics of this few weeks of speeches, Tamarin, is to try to put some pressure on House Republicans to cooperate more. Very tough environment that he's playing in. The other thing on housing where there might be common ground is trying to take apart Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and try to simplify the mortgage process so people understand more about what they're getting into. We may be past an era of those so-called liar's loans, which also helped drive up prices.
Right.
But in this one area, unlike immigration, unlike health care, there just may be more area for common ground.
All right. Thank you very much, Lynn Sweet. Thank you, Shari. As you're watching here, the president arriving in Phoenix, Arizona, and then traveling on to Burbank, California, to be live on the Jay Leno show. Our first read team points out it may be the first time we hear from the president on camera regarding this latest terror threat and a litany of other issues likely to be addressed on Leno's show. Not just an entertainment show, but certainly some more serious topics addressed there later this evening when he talks with Jay Leno. So we'll keep you posted on that. Meanwhile, still ahead,